You look tired there, buddy. You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. Okay.
Did you make it over all
Yeah,
those stairs?
How many levels is this? What was the number?
All of them?
It's infinite.
All of them.
Infinite.
Okay. All right. Let's get started. Okay. Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, and with me is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
You sound like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle. What are you talking about?
Oh man, okay. My brain is a giant sieve. You sound like the dude from Star Trek when you do that. It's like, and we're gonna get hi. I'm a rocket man.
As a kite by then.
Yeah. Dude, what is his name? No kidding. Like, save me.
I have no idea who you're talking
The guy from Star Trek.
Which
one?
Which guy?
The Priceline negotiator.
Okay, which series?
Oh, sorry, the old
series.
The original.
Okay.
The guy who
original series?
famously talks like this.
Shatner? Oh, you mean
Thank
William
you.
Shatner?
No, my brain. I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't come up with that.
There's someone on the way. Something.
Anyway, so I feel like that's a great summary. With us is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
And Ash Eli.
I'm here to have a good time talking about the Infinite Staircase.
And folks, yeah, you guessed it. You just heard from him, our special guest, William Shatner.
I once ran a published adventure, and part of it involved the players impersonating a troupe of actors, and the lead actor in the troupe was described as Shatnerian style. All of us immediately.
That's never a compliment for an actor. If you are compared to Shatner, that is probably the worst experience as an actor.
Once walked out of an audition and told everybody that I Shatnered it up in there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Infinite Staircase. Who's excited?
Oh, you're leaving? Shatner,
Very
you're leaving?
excited.
No, we were joking. Come on, come back.
I don't have to take any of these insults.
It's fine. He'll be back in the next generation, right?
I don't think that's how that works.
No. Okay. That's
He did briefly in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where he dies by being crushed by, spoiler alert, by being crushed by some debris. It's basically just him and Picard on a planet, like half of the movie. It's a very boring movie.
All right, let's talk about something less boring, and let's talk about the Infinite Staircase. So, this is another one of those adventure anthologies from Wizards of the Coast, so similar to Candlekeep Mysteries or Tales from the Yawning Portal, where they've taken a bunch of old school adventures from like the first and second edition AD&D days and updated them to 5th edition and made improvements to the adventures in general, and then kind of bundled them together in a like loosely collected, vaguely thematic adventure anthology. So where Tales from the Yawning Portal was like a lot of things in the vein of Tomb of Annihilation, this one is more things that feel like weird and alien and beyond the normal setting of D&D, and that frequently have a multiplanar theme. All of these things are linked together by this thing called the Infinite Staircase, which is an extra dimensional kind of plane that's been referenced a few times throughout D&D canon, but as far as I know, it's never really been explored or explained. So, like, just to briefly kick things off, let's talk about what the actual staircase is, because when someone says Infinite Staircase to you, I imagine that you get kind of a specific, like, Ash, what do you picture in your head when you think Infinite Staircase?
I think any staircase that makes me want to die by just going even halfway up it. Like, yeah, like if you've ever tried the stairs at Machu Picchu, then you've seen an infinite staircase. as Randall said at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know. Like anything more than
hey,
five floors, that's an infinite staircase, as far as I'm concerned. Who's ever climbed more than that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so I've got
no one.
I've got two pieces of information that might make you feel better. One, you can never become exhausted from walking the infinite
Liars.
staircase. And 2, you can propel yourself along the infinite staircase by thinking about yourself being propelled. Literally, you can turn it into an escalator by thinking about it.
Then why is it a staircase?
Because you have to know that you can do that.
Oh,
Yep.
D&D is so weird
I know.
and stupid.
All right, so basic logic of the infinite staircase. There's an infinite amount of stairs. On landings, there's always exactly one door, no more, no less. That door goes to either a world on the material plane or another one of the inner or outer planes. And you can get to anywhere in the multiverse from the infinite staircase. And when you open that door, it opens into a door, a cave mouth, something similar on your target destination.
So when Sigil advertised itself as the city of doors, it doesn't have anything on the infinite staircase. Where is this place anyway in the multiverse?
Unclear. Totally unclear. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. There's a few different like multiversal hubs that are kind of like this. There's Sigil, there's the infinite staircase, and then there's the world tree, which like the world tree cosmology was very briefly a thing, I think in 2nd edition, but then like they went back to the Great Wheel cosmology in 3rd edition. Maybe we'll see maybe we will see the world tree appear again in the 2024 rules, but for now it's back to the Great Wheel, but the infinite staircase is still there. All right, so the infinite staircase, landings, doors, goes places. Very cool. There's some creatures that live on the infinite staircase. There's this like vague gray blob that sucks all of the creativity out of whatever plane it gets into. So like if it finds an open door, it'll just go in there, suck all of the creativity out of that plane, cause the plane to disintegrate, and then grow on the infinite staircase. It's this whole growing problem. It's basically like...
Yeah, folks will be really fascinated by that monster. It's called the 40-hour work week.
Glad I don't have to do that anymore. It's great.
Yeah, that's about right. Let's see. So that's a thing. There's some creatures that show up in there. So like we got a bunch of new stat blocks in the adventure. And then there is exactly one completely unique creature that exists only on the infinite staircase. And he's the cool genie pictured on the front of the book. His name is Nefas, which apparently means wind. And he was basically blown into existence when all of the doors on the infinite staircase basically all blew air into the staircase at the same time. Suddenly Nefas appears. Very cool guy, very powerful, does a lot of cool stuff, and he is like the quest giver for the entire book. But despite all of his power, like he's one of the genies who can grant wishes and will if you do nice things for him. So like very, very powerful, functionally immortal, but utterly incapable of leaving the infinite staircase by any means. So the only interactions he ever has are with travelers on the infinite staircase. So like infinite cosmic power, technically infinite, but very, very boring living space.
Yeah, you were describing like the other anthologies and kind of how they tied things together. And I have to say, it feels like one of the weaker anthologies for how things are tied together, where if you're running this end to end as an adventure, the suggestion to you is basically this extremely powerful genie is hanging out in like the center of dreams, you know, and you get called to him. It's like, hey, I got a buddy who needs some help. He needs a favor. I need you to like go to floor, you know, Q, open the 3rd door down and like, I don't know, go deal with it. And you're just like, yeah, that sounds great. And then you go do it. And then you come back and you're like, hey, we leveled up a couple times. You got anything else for us? Like completely unrelated. I've got this other problem. I want you to go deal with it too.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It is.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah, it has all of the energy of that guy from Fallout 4. Just another settlement needs your aid.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Again?
Yeah, it's not. I would say if you're going to use the Adventures in Infinite Staircase, just pull them in somewhere that makes sense. Like just plug them in. The framing device for this is just, it's not good and it's not exciting.
Yeah,
it's just kind of
what does
boring.
really suck to say that though, and so for folks at home, I feel like we haven't said this yet. We're going to do most of this mostly spoiler free. We're talking about an adventure book. There's like a wee bit of setting and a bunch of adventures, so it will never be completely spoiler free. But we are going to talk about the Infinite Staircase. We're going to talk about high level. What's the pitch for these adventures? Then we're going to get very loud and tell you now all the spoilers are coming out. So if you're thinking you're a player and you might be playing in these, that would be the time to disengage. But what we're saying is stick with us right now. It's going to be really light on spoilers. And with that, I want to say it does kind of suck that we don't feel like it's woven together better, because I think the Infinite Staircase is cool. I think Nafas is cool. I made my joke about the 40-hour work week. This entity, this pile over everything is the Iron Shadow. And it's literally sucking the creativity out. And one of the things that it does as it conquers parts of the Infinite Staircase, literally the doors are rendered shut and gray, and you can no longer go through those doors to whatever adventure might have been hiding before them. So if you as an adventurer like adventuring and like Nafas being like, hey, I don't know, like I got a problem over here. Imagine showing up one day and the doors are gone. It's a cool story. You could have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to put this with that though. That's my only.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I could see using Nefas for all kinds of cool stuff. If you want to do like a plane hopping adventure, he seems like a really cool guy to go to when the players are stuck or when you need a base. But yeah,
he's a cool guy and everything, but I think he's just underutilized in this adventure. So use him for something else.
Hopefully he reappears again in the future, because he seems
absolutely 100%.
Yeah. So should we talk about the adventures? There feels like there's less of them than other anthologies, but there might be more to them. They feel longer individually than the other ones, so that's part of it.
Maybe. Yeah, let's get into the adventures. I'm gonna go peek at your.
Well, because like I know like Radiant Citadel had like 13 or something.
That's true,
but they were a lot shorter adventures.
Yeah.
So
okay, so Yawning Portal had 7, but it didn't,
which is the same as this.
But it also didn't have to describe an entire extra dimensional demi-plane, whatever we're calling the Infinite Staircase.
Yeah.
So, all right, so 7.
So we'll start with the first one, which is The Lost City, so the thing about this book, unlike Journey Through the Radiant Citadel, which was all original adventures, this is more like Yawning Portal, where they're taking previous adventures and updating them. So some of the stuff in here is going to feel a little archaic just because of the way that the adventures is structured. Like these, a lot of these are dungeon romps.
Yeah.
We'll just say So if your players aren't big on really big, intricate, really almost sometimes unfairly designed dungeons, aka the Tomb of Annihilation, but much more playable, then this book is not going to be for you. Just spoiler alert. So I want to read a little something about the original adventure for The Lost City. So they have these little tidbits about the history for each adventure, and I think they're kind of interesting. It gives you a little history and context for when they first came out. So The Lost City was published in 1982. It was written by Tom Moldvie. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who contributed to Dungeons and Dragons basic set. Following in the footsteps of other B-series adventures, The Lost City served as both an adventure and a learning tool for new dungeon masters. While the adventure detailed upper levels of
Synodician?
I'm going to mispronounce this. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Synodician Ziggurat. DMs could test their mettle by expanding the dungeon to include its lower levels, for which the module provided only rudimentary features. This updated version of the adventure forgoes this exercise, providing an optional 6th level below the Ziggurat. So, the premise, the pitch for The Lost City is there was this grand, big desert-dwelling city that had had a king and a queen that were beloved by the populace. After they died, they built a huge ziggurat in their honor. And in the course of excavating the parts for the ziggurat, they found an obelisk with a horn in it. This isn't a spoiler. This is all just laid out there immediately. So in the ziggurat, one of the workers had the bright idea of, let's pull the horn out of the ominous looking obelisk, because that never goes wrong.
Yeah.
And what happened was a creature by the name of Zargon? Yeah, Zargon. Okay. A creature by the name of Zargon, the Returner, came in and basically destroyed the whole city and started eating everybody. And some people started worshiping it. The rest of the populace basically decided to go underground and use the ziggurat as like the entrance to their vast underground city. I want to say, great premise for the thing, especially like the hook that they find is like, I really like they give you options for hooks besides the Infinite Staircase. And the one I would use if I was using this is the players are with a caravan going through the desert. A sandstorm separates them and they wander around the desert till they find this weird, creepy looking ziggurat.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's an awesome setup. And I like that. It gives to mind a really creepy sort of foreboding feel. My one thing I will say about this adventure has a tone problem.
Okay.
Like it has an exceedingly bad tone problem. it doesn't want to know if it's supposed to be grand, sweeping, epic, almost creepy adventure dungeon crawl or wacky, silly adventure time.
Okay.
It like you'll see some really messed up stuff, like people being devoured by some creepy animals in your path, and the next moment you turn around the corner and there's this guy in a cat mask who meows at you. So it's really weird, and I can't follow the logic on it. I would also say that if you don't go with the expanded stuff that they offer you, the ending is incredibly underwhelming. Like supremely underwhelming. Do not run this without the expanded features. They actually put a lot of stuff in the expanded features. So I would say if you're going to run it with the expanded features. And it baffles my mind if they said that the expanded suggestions in the original were just like bare bones. They didn't even give you maps or any suggestions. It was just like, you could do this. They actually give you maps in this, and which I appreciated. I don't know how they got away with that in the original, because it ends so spectacularly anticlimactically. Like, it is so disappointing.
I want to ask a question. Do you think that tone, problem, the fact that it can't figure out, like, is it like slapstick, over the top ridiculousness, or is it gore and violence? Do you think it's like a holdover from the era of the 80s that it brought forward? Like, they retained that original feel? Okay.
100%. It is a very pulpy adventure. It feels like
okay, good. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's 100%. Like, if you like the tone and aesthetic style of He-Man, this adventure is going to do it for you. Like, that's basically what it is. You have kind of inept villains, so at times some like wildly disturbing stuff that you can't believe they got past the radar. Like I said, there's a lot of disturbing stuff in this. Like, supremely, you see a lot of dead bodies and are described in detail as to how exactly they died, which was
imagining.
Yeah, it's a rough read. But then just as often you have these really wacky, inept characters that just show up for no reason. So it's, when I say this thing has a tone problem, I mean it has a tone problem. I'm imagining
like the DM at a table where, like, okay, look, all these things are all found. It's like, not going to read that, not going to read that, not going to read that. There are dead people in the room. Commence. Like, let's. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's okay. I would say it was a solid B for me. I think that if you're looking for a mildly entertaining dungeon with some definitely memorable NPCs, if not great NPCs, then check this adventure out. I think for me, I'm rating it a little bit harshly because the setup for it was so awesome. Like, I'm like, this is a cool hook. I'm excited to see where this goes. And the payoff was so disappointing for me. So for me personally, it's not what I would look for in an adventure like this. But for someone else, I could see it being a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
So if I remember right, this was originally a beginner adventure. Like it.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, and that's the other thing that I don't understand about this adventure. Like, in terms of like pacing, leveling, like, it has suggested level up stuff, like milestone leveling for players. You're supposed to do this dungeon at level 1. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's going to be possible. I mean, there is a part where if you like it says the party is supposed to level up the first time they meet one of the factions, which if you know what you're doing as a DM, that can be very quickly. So in that case, sure. But even then, like, level 2, level 3 is about as I think the max you get to is like level 4.
Okay.
And Zargon the Returner is a challenge rating 17.
Jeez.
So I don't know how you're supposed to do this whole adventure as written. I don't know. I think that's where you really can dig into the meat of the expanded stuff to give your players more opportunities for leveling. Because the maps that they give you are not small for the expanded stuff. Like, It's quite a big map. So I could see that maybe giving more levels, but this would be an entire campaign. This is not like a side adventure. If you want to run it with all the expanded stuff and stuff like that, this is a campaign.
Nice.
Okay.
It's not an adventure.
And I think the call out was worth making. So if you read the blurb, they talk about, like, the original adventure was actually written as training wheels for dungeon masters. Mm-hmm. Like, all the expanded material that you were talking about, Ash, they added, like, they explicitly spell out in this book, so there's no homework required. In the original publication, they actually said, they had language about, like, hey, here's rudimentary, like, here's kind of what you should expect. You figure it out. You draw the maps. You build the adventure as training wheels. Like, okay, we got you this far. You now understand the tone. You can complete the rest of it. And so it's interesting as an introductory adventure, not just for the players, but for dungeon masters first getting into the game.
Yeah, don't run this if this is your first game. Just do not recommend.
And it's not going to teach you.
better.
I think that's a wonderful point. It's not going to teach you how folks run 5e in 2024.
Yeah, no, this was good back when it was AD&D, when the focus was purely you spent 90% of your time in a dungeon. People don't play D&D like that anymore. So if you're only interested in running dungeons, then yeah, this is a good introduction to how like you can make a funhouse dungeon, which is essentially what this is. It's a funhouse dungeon. But in terms of like giving you the tools to actually run 2024 D&D, this is not going to be helpful for you. So, but they're not advertising it like it is, which is good because just run Phandelver. It's a better introduction.
Cool. All right. Do we want to talk about the next adventure, When a Star Falls? Okay. So I want to kind of give the same style introduction you did, Ash. So this is a adventure meant for 4 to 6 4th level characters. And if you're trying to run the anthology back to back, notice that at the end of the previous adventure, you were meant to be 4th level. You're coming to this as 4th level adventures. This was produced by the UK branch of TSR in 1984, and it was popular for its intricate plot, unique adventure hook, which spurred characters to action by imprinting their minds with memories from a creature, blah, blah, blah. Spoilers. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to talk a little bit about that creature. When we get to the spoilers, I'm going to talk about it more because I think it's pretty cool. All right, here's the idea. Here's the pitch for the adventure. There is a place called the Tower of Heavens. It is famous for its ability of prophecy. People come from far and wide to go there and receive prophecy, hear a story of what is coming in their lives. And generally, these things work out. These things come true. So it isn't a false prophecy. It's real prophecy. There's value to it. The leader of this organization, Xiaofei, for some reason, knows that a star is going to fall from the heavens and knows that it is critical to retrieve that star. And so your adventurers are put on a path to fetch that star for the sake of the Tower of Heavens and their prophecy.
Sounds like a quest.
Absolutely. So but before maybe I go into detail about how I felt about this adventure, I want to warn folks at home something. I'm a person who often cannot appreciate like seminal materials in a workspace. Like I've read Asimov, I don't love it. And I know so much of what I do love today and like the modern takes on what was created here are beautiful, wonderful, and I love what's happening in 2024. But when I read something that's 50 or 60 years old, quite often I'm reading it and being like, okay, I get it. This is a pretty basic story though. Because my tiny human brain cannot appreciate the amount of creativity it had to have to be the first person to have those thoughts. I say that to say, I like this adventure. It was super simple, but it's good. It's not completely linear. There's a couple branching points where you can make decisions. One of the things I really like about it is you kind of experience different biomes and different creatures. So there's obvious phases to the story, but it also feels pretty natural that like, I'm going to go from the mountains. I'm going to go into this jungle area. I'm going to meet all kinds of creatures and denizens of the D&D world in the place they live. And I'm going to have an experience. And being murder hobos or being like roguish thieves can be punished. Like you can't run around killing everything you meet. Otherwise, you're going to break the adventure and you're probably going to die. All of these things felt really fun to me.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that does seem like an unusual twist for the era where hack and slash was a lot of the adventuring.
Yeah, there's a particular space. Yeah, there's a I'm going to call it no, that's spoiler. Okay, I'm going to hold that part of the conversation for the spoilers. But yeah, at a high level, I enjoyed it. I thought there were some novel monsters in it, definitely some novel encounters, and the players really have to get into the role play aspect of like, why am I going? Where am I going? Who am I talking to? And what is the right way to engage with this person to actually achieve my goals? And there's several places in the adventure where if you fail to do that, you might be able to complete the adventure. You just made your world so much harder. And I think the talented DM can really have some fun with the players to make it clear to them. It's like, you have screwed up, but there is opportunity here. Let's go forward. So I would run this. And I think maybe that's the best praise that I can give it. I liked it well enough that I think I could make this fun for my table today.
Okay.
Very cool. High praise. So Beyond the
Crystal Cave? I read that one as well. Okay, so we talked about before, the previous adventure was for 4th level adventures. This adventure expects you to be 6th level, so there's opportunity, there's milestones presented in the previous adventure to get you to 6th level. This is an adventure for a party of 4 to 6 at 6th level. This was also published by the UK TSR branch. It's the first adventure in a series of adventures. It's heavily inspired by the star-crossed lovers of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And it was a big departure in the era in that most of what's happening in the story can be navigated without combat or significant violence. So you remember, we got really excited over Wild Beyond the Witchlight because it was the first adventure that you could navigate end to end without ever having to engage in combat. It, in a way, kind of they were attempting to do this back in 1983 in an era where everything was hack and slash, everything was dungeon crawls. This still has its dungeon crawly feelings to it. But if you're clever, you can navigate most of this and you can solve most of the problems using your brain, treating everything like a bit of a teaser and not being socially inept in game or out of game.
Oh, I don't know if that's possible. Cool. That feels like a tall order. I don't know.
Okay, so let's give the pitch for the story. So I have two warring families who have never gotten along, and two young folk from these families have fallen in love, and they are tired of all the fighting and the hatred between their families. And so they went to a special place. This special place it's an eternal garden. Everybody in the area is familiar with it. So Ash, kind of like you pointed out with the first adventure, like this is all table stakes. You just walk in knowing all of this information. There's famously a cave. If you go to the cave, you can make a wish. It's very popular for young lovers or people in need, people who are ill, this sort of thing, to go there and make a wish. And often, if you're a good person, true of heart, the cave will do something for you. But there's a rumor that there's stranger magic beyond the cave, and very few folks will go beyond. But if you were to go beyond, there's a beautiful garden beyond that with all kinds of magic. And so a lot of adventurers go there kind of seeking this aspect of it. So the governor of the city, who also happens to be a family member of one of the missing young people, comes to you and says, okay, look, here's the deal. Here's what we think is going on. We think that they went to the cave and they're looking for some magic. I don't know. We've sent people. Nobody's come back with, would you like to try? And by that, I mean, I need you to go try. I need you to go do this for me. So you're essentially going on a fetch quest, but your fetch quest is to get like this couple that's in love with each other and bring them back and tell them like, hey, your families are getting along now. And I suppose that's an important part of the story, which is kind of cool. Sincerely, it's been years since the young people have been missing. The families have actually put aside their hatred and are now getting along and cooperating in hope that story gets to their children so that they will come back. So their love was actually strong enough to repair that, which is kind of cool. And so you are going to go in, and you can imagine you're probably not going to stop at the cave. You're probably going to keep going. And mild spoiler, you wind up in the Feywild.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Crystal Cave, go through it, find a lot of magic. Feywild feels appropriate.
Yeah. It's cute adventure.
I guess the other one. I guess if we're doing ratings as part of this, it is cool. I again like the layout of the adventure. I feel like it's really easy to run. My table would not love this. I think if you're a table that loves to engage in solving puzzles, political intrigue, I think you'd have a lot more fun in this. Similar like when we reviewed Wild Beyond the Witchlight, looking at that, and it's like, okay, cool. I can kill everything. I don't have to kill everything. I think that this isn't an adventure that my table would love, but there are a lot of tables out there that would exactly love this.
Yeah, I could see that. So the other one I read was Pharaoh. So two different adventures that deal with a pyramid. I am nothing if not having a type. This one I feel is executed better though than The Lost City.
Okay.
Pharaoh was a pretty popular adventure, originally published by Tracy and Laura Hickman. It was made by their game company, so it was an independent adventure that was then bought by TSR in 1980. That's right. I think it was. Yeah, which TSR liked the adventure so much that not only did they reprint Pharaoh in 1982, they also hired Tracy Hickman. So this is what got Tracy Hickman as part of TSR. And then Tracy Hickman went on to write Ravenloft. So you can, that's probably why I like this adventure. Yeah, that's why I like this adventure. TSR also liked the adventure so much that they later published two more adventures that take place in the Desert of Desolation, which is where Pharaoh takes place. Pharaoh is praised for blending masterful dungeon design with a compelling narrative, which I agree with. I think this is probably one of the better designed dungeons that I've seen, especially from older content, where I think the dungeons were, if I'm being honest, and this is a hot take, bad. But this one doesn't feel bad. It feels interesting, and it feels like it toes the line between being kind of an interesting funhouse dungeon while still having an internal consistency and taking itself seriously. So that's what I felt was missing from The Lost City. So the pitch for this one is there was a pharaoh of a kingdom called Bakar. His name was Amun-Sa. Very subtle name change from Amun-Ra. I like that. But Amun-Sa really wanted to make sure that nobody could rob his tomb because he was afraid that anybody who robbed his tomb would prevent him from going to the afterlife. So he basically bankrupted his which he basically bankrupted his kingdom, making all of these weird, intricate defense mechanisms for his tomb. And it also caused him to oppress his people and work them to the bone, to the point where there was an uprising against him and people wanted to kill him. So Amun-Sa, faced with deposition, used powerful artifacts and prayed to the gods to curse the land and make the river that everyone relied on not flow. The river Aethys is what it's called, not flow if they killed him.
Oh.
That was his wish. And no sooner did he get that curse out than someone drove a spear through his heart.
Of course.
So immediately the whole land was cursed. The river dried up. Bakar fell into ruin. And worse for Amun-Sa, when he went to go seek his afterlife, the god of death was like, hey, I'm going to enforce the curse you said, but you're also kind of a jerk. So I'm going to curse you as well. So just as much as it was pretty poetic, he said, just as you were obsessed with death in life, now you're going to be obsessed with your life in death. And so basically he's cursed to wander the desert as a ghost until such a time as someone can do what he set out to prevent, which is they need to rob his tomb. So if he can find adventurers to successfully steal his two powerful artifacts they use to curse the land with, not only will he be allowed to enter the land of the dead, but the curse that he put on the land will also be reversed. So yeah, that's the pitch. Your players essentially run into Amun-Sa's ghost in the middle of the desert, who basically just spouts out this pre-recorded pitch for what he wants people to do. It's very ominous sounding and creepy, which I really like. And then if you try to ask him he tells you to follow him. And if you try to ask him any other follow-up questions, he will not respond because that's all he can say. Huh. If you try to ask him any more questions, he'll just say that whole speech again.
Where's the key? Where's the key? How do I turn off the security system? What was the code?
I am Amun-Sa.
No, you
I am
already said
Amun-Sa,
that.
son
What
of
is
the
the
house
code?
of Mopilar.
Try 1, 2, 3, 4.
But yeah, you go into the pyramid. There's a lot of cool stuff. I think, like I said before, this is a massive dungeon. It is very big. It's designed to take players from level 7 to level 9, which is weird because the last boss of this dungeon feels really takeable at that level. Wow. I'll get into why later, but you also meet some really cool NPCs that are all very fun and interesting. They don't feel silly. They feel like they're supposed to be there. It also feels really threatening and scary, but it doesn't feel unfair like with the Tomb of Annihilation, where it's just instant death trap. Sorry. It's no, it's not instant death. But the one criticism I have of it is that there is a possibility for this game to just end before it even begins, because it's really not obvious how there's a false tomb at the beginning, and it's really not obvious how you're supposed to get to the real tomb unless your players are clever. So, but unlike Tomb of Annihilation, it's not like if you go through the wrong entry, you instantly die. It's just, I can foresee some people who expect a more guided experience to be like, will we explore everything? Where are we supposed to go? And that I could see stalling the game a little. So maybe have one of the NPCs nudge the players in the right direction. But yeah, I thought this was a really solid adventure. I could see plugging this into any of my campaigns, and I think my players would have a pretty decent time with it. I may shorten it because, again, it is a massive dungeon. And I think after a while, especially in 2024, doing huge, massive dungeon crawls can get kind of exhausting after a while.
Oh, Tyler's fun.
But I mean, just in my experience for the groups that I run, my players tend to get exhausted with mega dungeons. But yeah, I might run this at some point, just plug it into one of my games when I need a dungeon and I can't think of anything. I'll use this.
All right.
So yeah, I would say this is a solid A.
Okay. All right. So we're on adventure number 5 of 6. So I read the last 2. This is The Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth. Any guesses as to how you pronounce that?
Tsojcanth?
Yeah, Tsojcanth.
I've never been to that convention.
Nope.
Yeah.
Do not accept.
I'm going to be honest, and this isn't exactly a spoiler, but so Igwilv features heavily in this adventure, and Igwilv famously likes to name things in very, very difficult to pronounce ways. So, everything in this adventure, everything throughout this adventure, when you think like, oh god, this is so annoying and inconvenient, Igwilf. That's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Tasha likes to have fun.
Explain that for folks.
Okay, so this was
Tasha is her human name. She's had many names, but her Fae name is Igwilf.
Yes.
That's always been her name. That was the name that I think Baba Yaga gave her. Or I think Baba Yaga gave her the name Natasha, but her given name is Igwilf.
My people. Who knows?
Yeah, she's had like 3 different names. I forget what her name is. The Fae Lord is. Yeah.
All right. So this was originally published as a tournament module. So this was like there are points set in the adventure. You play the adventure at a convention. Your objective as a party is to get the highest score. So that was how this was originally published. People liked it enough that TSR republished it as a full adventure. They expanded it. They added stuff outside of the dungeon. So there's basically 2 acts to the dungeon. There's pre-dungeon, and then there's stuff that's in the dungeon. The basics of the plot are just simple. Words hard. Try that again. The premise of the adventure is just dead simple. Igwilf was here. Like, this is where she was Igwilf the Witch Queen and had a kingdom and was a general menace. She disappeared at some point for unspecified reasons that probably had to do with Grast, and then left her base behind, essentially. No one's been able to get in, but there's a lot of rumors that there's a ton of treasure in it because she was a witch queen. She probably had a bunch of cool magic items. So now there's a bunch of nations racing to get the treasure, and one of the nations enlists you and your party to go get the treasure before their, competing neighbors can get it and use it to do bad things to them. So it is literally somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need you to go in the dungeon, fight the monsters, take the treasure, and then go home.
I'm in.
Easy as can be. Yeah. It's it's a solid dungeon crawl. I don't think you're going to look at this as like a stunningly amazing plot. I would run this as a good hack and slash game. There's not a ton of role playing in here, honestly, but there's some fun puzzles. The set pieces are neat. The encounters are interesting. The traps are really cool. And there's no instant death traps. Like, players will get beat up a bit, but won't be instantly vaporized or anything. I think it's neat. Like, I would run this, but unless you're super into dungeon crawls, you're probably going to be bored.
Fun fact, so this adventure takes place in Greyhawk. Mm-hmm. How do you guys think the name of the world that is Greyhawk is pronounced? I'm curious.
Orth?
Nope.
No?
Randall, any guesses?
It's Oerth.
H.
Worth?
It's actually Oith.
Okay. Really? Welcome to Oith.
Don't ask me why. I learned this recently, and now I'm making it everybody's problem.
All right.
Because I thought it was just Earth.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's supposed to be a different reflection of our Earth, but no.
All right.
Apparently Gary Gygax just like to troll people. It's Oith now.
So I'm picturing an adventurer in the world of Oith named like Bill Smith. Punching an alien. Welcome to Oith.
It's the homeland of my people, the Jewish people. Oith. Oh God.
Okay. All right. So separate from the adventure, I had a fun rabbit hole with this one. So this was written as a tournament module for WinterCon number 5. WinterCon takes place in Michigan. It is run by the Detroit Metropolitan Gamers Association, which still exists. Their last convention was pre-COVID, so I don't know if they're ever going to do a convention again, but they still exist. And they meet at the Vault of Midnight.
Oh, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, which is our friendly local game store.
Nice.
So they're right there. All of this history, these grognards, just right there.
So there's actually several Vaults of Midnight. Yeah. We should see if it's actually the one that's closest to us, or
it's the one in Ann Arbor. Okay. They have a board game meetup every Saturday.
Okay, so we could just show up.
Yeah, we just walk in and be like, hey, we have questions. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Okay, so that is the Lost Caverns of SajCon without spoilers. All right, the final adventure in the compendium, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. So this is...
I've been very excited to hear about this one because I've actually heard a lot about this. It's like the first science fantasy one that Gary Gygax made, which is dope.
Yes, so this was originally written by Gary Gygax functionally as a playable ad. It was the first science fantasy adventure for Dungeons and Dragons, and it was written to advertise TSR's like new at the time RPG. I wrote down the name. It's called Metamorphosis Alpha, and at the time, it was going to be one of the first sci-fi TTRPGs. Like a bunch came out in basically quick succession, but it was TSR's first. It eventually became Gamma World. So this was written basically as an ad. It was going to be run at a tournament, and like Gary went full on like funhouse dungeon with this thing. It is lighthearted. It is wacky. It doesn't take itself seriously. There's a couple of things that you could arguably call jump scares, but most of it is like wacky hijinks, good-natured fun, and just like go into the dungeon, break things, solve puzzles, get treasure. It is just a wonderful, wonderful, lighthearted dungeon crawl. I would run this in a heartbeat. Like I read through this adventure and I was coming up with dumb voices that I would use for the various characters. Like what cartoon robots can I bring into this today? All of them. All of the cartoon robots.
I think this adventure would also be a good inspiration, especially since it's coming out in Gen Con, to put in a Starfinder 2 game. I think that could be fun.
That could be neat. Although I feel like some of the novelty is going to be lost if you do it in Starfinder or an actual sci-fi RPG, because it's just going to be like, fair. Another crass spaceship. Part of the novelty here is you go in as like medieval level technology. Maybe you've got black powder weapons.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like robots. There's an AI. There are androids. There are aliens. There are ray guns. And like, this is all cover material. So like, none of that is spoilers. This is like what sells you on the adventure.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
You're gonna have a great time with this. There's gonna be so many laughs. It's just, oh gosh, it's really good. Like I'm so excited about this. I want to run this someday.
Oh yeah. So that was the non-spoiler section. So shall we now go to the spoiler section?
Yeah, I think it is that time, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to loop back around to the beginning and we're going to start talking about spoilers. So this is your one and only spoiler warning. If any of these adventures sound interesting and something you want to run or want to be run, or I mean, if you want to run it, then stick around. But if you want this to be run for you and you don't want to be spoiled, leave now or forever hold your peace.
You're running out of time. We're about to start talking right now.
Okay, so let's start with the Lost City.
Yeah.
So I said before how it ends underwhelmingly. So remember how I mentioned that guy Zargon?
Yeah.
The returner?
How are you supposed to
The supposed big bad? The supposed big bad? Here's the thing. You never actually get to meet or fight Zargon.
Really? So it's just a background
Nope.
threat?
Sauce all over again.
Yep.
Fine.
The entire time. Like, and that's what's so frustrating is that the entire time they build him up as the supreme threat. Like, you meet several NPCs who tell you, like, oh, everything changed when Zargon came. You meet his cultists who try to sacrifice you to Zargon. And so you're just like, man, this Zargon guy sounds like an ass. I can't wait to kill him. And no, you don't even get anywhere near him. Basically, the entire purpose of the adventure, you don't even get to fight a final boss. The entire purpose of the adventure is you got into the ziggurat at the top because you were just exploring it, and then you got trapped in there. So you have to work your way down to the bottom, and then the ending is you walk out the front door. That's it.
Seriously?
That's the ending. I'm not even kidding.
Oh my god.
That's the ending.
What a waste.
I was just like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? That's how it ends? Where's Zargon?
Yeah.
Like, they have all these cool factions and all of these different like perspectives on the world and how the city work, how their civilization should work. You don't even get to see the underground city at all. It's just the ziggurat.
Jeez.
That's it. It's just like, wow, what wasted potential. That I actually got angry at this. And I think that if they didn't have the expanded stuff, I would have hated this adventure because I would just be like, wow, what a waste of potential. But credit where it's due, they did add the expanded stuff. And that's why I say, if you're going to run this adventure, you really should run the expanded stuff. Okay. So they say, if you think that they're like, if your players still want to explore the ziggurat, which why wouldn't they? They should. It's kind of underwhelming. They say, oh yeah, there's a trap door in the entrance hall where you're supposed to exit, and that leads to all the cool stuff. If you're not doing the expand stuff, that trapdoor just doesn't exist. So it's just like, okay. But so they give some suggestions. You can do like an expanded ziggurat style stuff where it's just a 6th level where you get to actually fight Zargon. Like he has like these cool minions. You get to see all these weird rituals. There's a mind flayer there, so really cool stuff. They also give you a different option, which is you can run the underground city. They give you a huge map of the underground city, and like here's where this thing is, this is where this thing is, here's some suggestions for adventures. The 6th level, like Zargon's lair, is actually like they actually have like all the encounters and stuff spelled out there for you. The underground city is more broad and gives suggestions. If I were personally going to run this, I would combine these two. I wouldn't have like a one or the other situation, because the only way I can see the Zargon fight not ending in a total party kill for your players is if they level up some.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically what I would do is the trapdoor leads to the underground city, and then your players spend a good amount of time doing stuff within the underground city, seeing what happens to the people there, and like, you know, their struggles and all of that different stuff. And then instead of they have a section for the Temple of Zargon, but they don't ever like say what's there. Just take the 6th level that they put for the ziggurat and put that as the Temple of Zargon, and then you fight Zargon. And he's a cool fight. Like, he looks really rad, and like his lair actions are really powerful. He seems to be a very scary fight that I think would be a lot of fun to fight and a challenging encounter. And they have different like addresses that they give you for Zargon if your players are under 10th level or if they're above 10th level.
Okay.
Which is really cool. Like, if you're under 10th level, he's basically like, you guys don't have a chance. Why are you even here? And if you're above 10th level, he's like, okay, you're a moderate threat, but it doesn't matter if you kill me, I'll just come back anyway. And that's the other thing. Just killing him doesn't eradicate his threat. You have to destroy his horn. The only way to destroy his horn, and you're not told this, is you need to take it to an upper plane and put it in under a waterfall for 101 days. And during that time, it completely poisons the water source irreversibly. Wow. So it's just like, you have to condemn an entire water source in upper plane to destroy this guy. This guy is so powerful. And you never fight him in the original game. Yeah. I'm just like, what the hell? Yeah. He's got such a cool design too. Yeah. Like, did you see his picture? It's rad.
That's awesome.
Okay, I gotta ask, how are the players meant to discover that? Does like an NPC show up and like, I don't know, have you tried washing it? Have you tried washing it in holy water?
I don't know. It's just it says it in his stat block. There's rumors that it does explicitly say that people think that, so there's a place in the underground city called the Eye of Zargon, which is like a giant slime pit. Okay. And people have a rumor that if you throw his horn into that pit, he won't reform. But there's some doubt as to whether that's just propaganda spread by his cultists, which, spoiler alert,
makes sense. Yeah,
it is.
Got it.
So
this sounds like something that you would put in one of those vaults at the bottom of the plane of Pandemonium.
Yeah. So that's why I say, if you're going to run this adventure, this is a campaign adventure. Yeah. This isn't like a one. This is like Out of the Abyss style adventure. You're spending the majority of the time underground. Your players are going to come really well acquainted with the underground city and the different factions that are in it. Yeah, and that's the cool thing. There are 3 different factions. They're all very different from each other. Some of them are wacky, but there's like one for the Thunder God, there's one for the Trickster God, and there's one for the God of like childbirth and the hearth or whatever. And they're all but they're all warriors for some reason. So yeah, one is very mage focused. That's the Trickster one. One is very just like generic, anybody can join. That's the Guardian one. And then there's one that's very martial focused, which is the goddess of the hearth and family and stuff like that. And then there's also the cultists, who you can't join. So they just try to kill you. But the culture of it is very cool. Everybody wears a mask, like a golden mask. The different factions wear masks, and generic people wear animal style masks. But it's said that like some of their personality has been eroded from this. And that's why you can sometimes meet a person who's wearing a cat mask and meows at you.
All right.
One of the random encounters you can run into is a person has a wolf mask on and thinks he's a wolf. And so you find him on all fours howling at you. And then he runs up to you, and if you act nice to him, he asks you for scritches. When I say that this module has a tone problem.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It has a huge tone problem.
Okay, at the right table, that's in tone because it's completely unsettling. I feel like there's a way to put.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you play this right, you can make it unsettling. Like again, like I would say Zargon himself is nightmare fuel. Like even just looking at his picture just gives me nightmares. Yeah. But then you have this wackadoo stuff that's just like, what tone are they going for here? But yeah, don't run this adventure as is unless you are either doing an infinite staircase type of thing, because literally all Nefas has you do there, he says, tell me their story. Go there and tell me their story. Not like go here and eliminate a thing. It's like go there and learn a thing. Come back more richer for the experience.
Things are bad. Things are bad.
So yeah. So yeah. If you're doing the infinite staircase prompt, then run it as is. But if you're gonna just run this isolated, you got to do the rest of it because it ends super underwhelmingly. Or at the very least, just put the 6th level in there. Ignore the underground city and just only throw this at your players at a higher level. Because the fact that you don't even get to meet Zargon is wild to me.
Cool. Do we want to talk about When a Star Falls? All right. So, in the spoiler-free version I talked about, there's the Tower of Heavens. They have the gift of prophecy. People go there far and wide. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. One person in the tower has the gift to read a book of prophecy that somebody found. It was a gift from the gods. They can only turn a page at a time. And the curse of the gift, the other half of the gift, is that like it literally restrains anyone from flipping beyond one page at a time per day. So every day they flip the book, they read the prophecy they need for today, and then people come and it's like, oh yeah, this is yours. Okay, I got you. There you go. Let me give you your prophecy. Except for one day, they flip the page over. The spell is broken. They can flip to any page they want. So they flip it over and the page is blank. And they're like, oh no. And then they keep flipping and all the other pages are blank. Oh no. And then they get to the final page of the book. And what the final page of the book says is a star will fall. You need to get it and you need to bring it to, and I never remember how to pronounce these, the Smurf gnomes, the underground, the Underdark gnomes.
Smurf
One more time? That's what I said.
Smurf Niblin. Yeah. Smurf Niblin.
You need to bring it, you need to go find the star when it falls. You need to bring it to the Smurf Niblin and they will, you heard me. They'll set things right. Okay. So the alternative adventure hook, besides Nefas being like, I need you to go and I don't know, deal with this, make things better. You stumble upon what were the emissaries that the leader of the Tower of Heaven sent out, but you don't know at the time. You just find some dead bodies. And there is thick, huge, what almost looks like spider webbing everywhere around them. I'm just staring at Tyler for a second. Yeah.
I hate that. Okay. Yeah, I hate that. Nah, good, bud.
Not spider related. Let's go and let's get that out of the way. Not spider related. It is a creature called a memory web. Have you folks heard of this?
I read this.
I have not heard of it, and it's really cool. So imagine a creature that kills you by draining your memories. Yeah.
Oh God, don't like that.
And important for the plot hook, if you kill a memory web, any memories that's absorbed in the past 24 hours will be freed and likely absorbed by the creatures in the area. Meaning you can literally absorb other people's lifetimes worth of memories if the memory web has a fresh kill. In this case, it does. And so imagine you're walking along in the mountains. You're like, oh, weird. What's going on with all these bodies? Better loot the bodies. And then you do the thing you always do. You start to loot the bodies and this thing attacks you. You kill it because of course you kill it. You're the heroes always. And now all of a sudden you understand, oh, these were emissaries. They were given this quest by the leader of the Tower of the Heavens. And it's vitally important that we find this star when it falls. Whenever it falls, who knows when that's going to happen. And we were told that there's this druid who is really good at astrology or something. I don't know, whatever. And if we go to this druid will help us pinpoint the exact position the star falls because they're really good at like that kind of like weird space math. And it's like, well, that's weird. I guess we should make our way that way. I wonder when the star's going to fall. And wouldn't you know it, just then the star falls. So you see the star falling, you see the direction it's going. You're like, okay, well, this is bad. This is bad. We have to get there. There's now a timer on us. Yeah.
Majora's Mask?
I really liked what they did with the druid. So you enter the valley where the druid lives and you're immediately greeted by giant eagles who speak in common. And they're like, hello, how are you doing? What's going on? Why are you here? And you explain, and okay, well, you could come with us. And the book gives you the outs of like, okay, if they fight the eagles anyway, good luck, I guess. What's meant to happen is you go along, you arrive at the homestead of this druid, and it's beautiful. There's like animals everywhere. There's a little building. There's like a pretty little dainty tree like in the middle. And you look around for a walk. So that's what you do. You're looking for the druid. And there's opportunities. You could kill the eagles. You could kill the tiger that you meet. You could, be mean to the goats. When you get into the property, there's valuables that you easily could like pocket. There's all these opportunities to do bad things. After you wander around the homestead for about 10 minutes, that tree in the center of the courtyard turns into the druid. And the druid's like, I've been watching you. And if you did none of the bad things, you pass the test. And druid's like, I'll help you out. It's going to cost you 200 gold or that book that you brought to give me. So I would give you the answer you want. And if you didn't, the druid basically tells you to piss off.
Oh,
okay.
Great.
So I talked before about like, you can't just go in here like murder hoboing and like, it's available for theft, I thieve, because you'll break this part. And it does become significantly more difficult to recover from that. But once you do this, you get the calculations, you can go get the star, you bring it to this Smurf River. Some shenanigans happen there. That's its own like dungeon crawl adventure. Getting the star, actually, I shouldn't skip this because it is important. Obviously, the star is going to fall in the middle of nowhere with no protection whatsoever. And you could just walk up and get it and then go on with the adventure, right? No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the star falls in a place where there are evil folks. They've got like an underground cave network. You have to go and do that dungeon crawl because they've already taken the star. There's like zombie thralls. There's this whole thing. And of course, at some point you pop out and it's like, oh, everything's great. In this new game we're playing called Dungeons and Dragons and I'm having a good time. There's been so many dungeons. And then all of a sudden a red dragon attacks you. So you get to fight a red dragon and that's exciting. And
that escalated quickly.
Yeah. And then finally, you can go in different directions. You don't necessarily have to do everything I'm describing linearly. And I think it does a good job of laying out what the players might choose to do and how to make the story work, depending on what they choose to do first. Including at any point in the adventure, you could turn around and go back to the Tower of Heavens. What has happened in the Tower of the Heavens is a kind of a person who is part of that community has basically killed everybody loyal to the leader because they want to take this opportunity to steal the gift of prophecy. And so after solving all the shenanigans, you actually have to go clean house, where the fact that you remember the lives of the emissaries who lived in the Tower of Heavens but are strangers puts you in a unique position that you know who you can trust and who not to trust. You know key like passphrases that will help you earn the trust of people there. It's like, okay, I don't know who you are, but obviously you're part of the circle, so I'll help you. Because ultimately what you have to do is get the second book of prophecy that the Smurf reverends have had in their cave this whole time. They were told when they found what they found, at some point, somebody's going to bring you a star. And when they do, you have to give them whatever is in this dome. You don't get to know what's in the dome. They're just going to show up. They're going to give you the star. You get the thing in the dome, or they get the thing in the dome, and that's it. So you get it's a second book of prophecies. And so now it's like, oh, look, we have a fuel card. Let's bring it back to the Tower of Heavens. We can restore the gift of prophecy to Tower of Heavens. Let's get rid of all these people trying to depose the guy who's supposed to be the leader, put him back in charge, give him his book so they can resume telling people, how to find the love of their lives or whatever you're doing when you do, leveraging gifts of prophecy.
Yeah, it's all is right
by the end.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's talk a little bit about... So, actually, okay, before we move on. Yeah, before we go to Beyond the Crystal Caves, I like the adventure. Like, there were a lot of cool plot hooks. There was a lot of great opportunity where it wasn't just straight violence. I liked that it isn't an open world, but it still feels like the players have a lot of agency in what they do next, including they can really make things hard on themselves. So all in all, I thought it was a well-constructed adventure. All right, Beyond the Crystal Caves. I feel like there's not a lot to say on the spoiler side, with spoilers. It is a cool adventure. Like we said before, you go through the cave. There's an opportunity where you can essentially get the effect of any 8th level spell or lower, as long as your desires are wholesome, including a plane shift spell where it will just put you in the Eternal Garden. When you get into the Eternal Garden, you meet all kinds of fake creatures. You meet some leprechauns who are spouting limericks at you left and right. That's a lot of fun. Essentially, you have to navigate your way both to the palace and find the lovers who won't leave because they drink from the magic fountain that essentially makes them happy and think that this is their home and they never want to go anywhere else. And so you got to figure out how to break that. And then finally, in order to do this, you find the sarcophagus of the people who created this paradise. Okay, so here's the big decision point. Tyler, I presented you with a sarcophagus. What do you do?
I check for
and
traps.
then what do you do? Yeah, you open it. I know you do. If you loot that body, in this case, it literally, everything goes dark. A foul wind comes. All of the beautiful sounds become dissonant. You are swept from the space you're at to the garden itself, where the archfey that lives there confronts you. And it's like, what have you done? What did you do? Berates you for a while, and then kicks you out, and you can never enter into this part of the Feywild through the crystal caves again. And if you were to find any other means, you find that you basically destroyed the paradise that these two lovers created, the original lovers that are in the sarcophagus. So
yeah, I can see why people wouldn't like that.
So here's the deal: don't. But I should say, like, I'm saying it like it wouldn't be obvious to you to not loot that body. I'm going to read it because it's short and I think it gets the point. Inscribed on the sarcophagus: O stranger, whom destiny hath led nigh, leave us interred in peace to lie. If thou wouldst deign to grant our request, then fate will move at thy behest. This gift from the contented dead, we swear to grant by our heart and head.
Okay,
it's a pretty good hint.
That's a decent riddle. That's like, it's basically saying, hey, please don't loot our dead bodies. If you just leave, we'll do something nice for you.
Also, the picture that they have of the sarcophagus, you have to be a monster to loot that sarcophagus. It's the two women holding hands and looking peacefully at each other. What kind of monster are
adventures
you?
At my table?
To do that.
Yeah, okay.
It's what my character would do.
It is.
Then you guys deserve whatever happens to you. I'm sorry.
So the culmination of this thing, though, is that if you just leave, all you have to do is leave. All you have to do is do nothing but not stay in the room. That's it. You're granted the benefits of a wish spell.
Okay.
And in particular, it is meant to be interpreted as the wisher wished, meaning don't be a jerk DM and twist it and everything. And in
Monkey
particular, if what you wish for is for the lovers in the palace who are under the spell of the fountain to wake up and realize, like, oh, everything's okay, then they do, and you can bring them home and everybody's very happy.
Oh, that's such a cute story.
It's fun. This isn't for my table because my table loves dungeons.
I could see this.
Yeah.
I could see this being very good for
a lot of groups, honestly.
Yeah.
I think my group would actually really like that. But yeah, I can see, like, if you're a grognard who likes combat and dungeon dives, it's not going to be for you. Well, maybe you'll like this next one, Pharaoh, because that's all it is a massive dungeon crawl. And when I say massive, we're talking 66 rooms here.
That's a lot.
Like, it is very big. Yeah, it's a lot of rooms. So I mentioned before how there's the one thing misgiving I have about it, which is at the very beginning. So there's a false tomb situation similar to Tomb of Annihilation, where you could just end the game if, like, your players just give up. Because, so first off, it's relatively small. You come in, there's a few rooms, and then you have to solve a puzzle to find a secret door to a place that's been looted already. Or seemingly been looted. But actually what Amun-Sa did, it was like one of his countermeasures for would-be thieves, is that he wanted to make it look like this tomb had already been plundered. So he had his priests, like, destroy things in the rooms, and then you get to his quote-unquote tomb. It has a sarcophagus. It has the face of the ghost that you saw. It's been overturned. Everything's been looted. There's like a chest and two urns here that seem untouched, but are actually three mimics. And carved into it is, sorry, travelers, you were late to the punch. Nothing here remains for you.
Got it.
Essentially. And so people are just like, is that it?
Yeah.
Did we do it? So, yeah, I mean, obviously you're supposed to take from that as like, no, that's obviously not it. There's something else going on here. So what you're supposed to do is there's two different offering chambers that are not in any way close to where the quote unquote tomb is in the crypt. One of which is just a normal offering chamber behind a secret door that doesn't really do anything. So, okay. The other one is like a huge statue with a brazier that if you put anything in it, it creates a ring of fire, and whatever's in there disappears. And the inscription that's on it, let me get it real quick. Yeah. Lay your offerings of food and drink for the gods in the blazing fire of Amun-Sa. That which the gods accept will vanish within the flame. So essentially what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to offer up yourself. You're supposed to go into the bowl, get fire around you, and you're transported to another part of the dungeon. Yeah.
No.
So basically what the way your players are supposed to figure this out is that they put something in it and they observe what happens. Like it, and so it specifically says that if someone puts detect magic on it, they sense that it's conjuration magic, which should tick them off that it's not evocation magic that's doing this. And then someone who succeeds on an Arcana check can tell that the bowl teleported its contents somewhere else, didn't destroy it. So so your players are supposed to kind of think outside the box. I know I know most of my players would never figure this out. So that's why I'm saying like this could just be a wall for your players. Yeah. So it's the only time in the dungeon where I was like, this feels not great. Now, so then you go to the second floor, and the second floor is like way more massive than the first floor. The first floor is like maybe 12 rooms. The second floor is like 20. It's insane. So the second floor is covered with like all of these. The hallways have this weird sulfurous mist that it says is supposed to disorient your players. So basically what you're supposed to do is you don't show your players the map of the hallways, and you just describe what they see. Like you come to this fork in the road. There's one that goes to the left, one that goes to the right, and one that goes straight forward. You don't tell them like what cardinal direction they're in. And it's set up kind of like a maze. So your players have to go through it and figure out where they're supposed to go. And they'll meet at certain points. They meet a faction of bandits that got lost in here who offer to help you and fight for you. But if you come across any treasure, they will immediately backstab you. So it's like,
great.
Yeah, which is fun. But you're also stalked by some minotaurs the entire time through the maze, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And there's a sphinx here that asks a riddle, which I want to give. I want to give you the riddle, and I want to see if you guys can get it.
Before we go there,
go ahead.
Is there a mechanic for whether or not the minotaurs like chase you down?
It's just a random encounter.
So it'd be really cool if there was some way of building tension of like.
Well, one of the things is that like the minotaurs aren't affected by the mist, so they can stalk you through the mist without being disoriented by it. I think there's a really good way that you can homebrew a mechanic for the minotaurs coming through, like chasing you and stuff like that. Like I did something recently that Planescape where my players were running through a maze being pursued by a giant T-Rex. And I'll talk about that more when we do a Planescape retrospective.
Cool. Okay, so Sphinx Riddle. I'm excited.
Sphinx Riddle. So the Sphinx offers you, basically, you meet the Sphinx, and the Sphinx says, if you answer my riddle, I will answer one of your questions about the pyramid. If you answer wrong, though, I'm going to eat you. So
Classic Sphinx.
Classic Sphinx. You can also just refuse. It's just like, nah, I'm not interested in your riddle. And they'll be like, okay. And then they just sit there. But the riddle is this. Too much and you wither. Too little and you shiver. I'm slow in the summer and hasty in winter.
The sun.
What am I? Hey, there you go. Good job.
Nice.
That was easier than I thought.
I love riddles. I should have been quiet for a little bit. And Tyler, were you getting there?
Yeah.
I figured it was something to do with heat, but it would have taken me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somehow you make it through that level. You get to the third level, which is a really weird level because it has a lot of like. It basically, you find out that the undead priests have been brought back to life by Amun-Sa's head priest named Rafik, who's a mummy lord, and he basically thinks that he's in charge now. But the undead priests have these like little viewing panels over the various rooms where they can watch people die and fail in the pyramid, which is hilarious. I love. But then there's also this. There's this one room that has like a really cool like puzzle where you have to manipulate gravity and watch how like a waterfall goes up and down. It's really cool. And at a certain point, you can also hear tapping on a wall. And the module says, if your players choose to break through the wall, they can do that. If they break through the wall, they find a gnome there who has been digging through the pyramid with a spoon and is just happy to be there. He's just been like, yeah, I just randomly got into this pyramid. I've just been digging with my spoon.
Okay.
So stupid, but I kind of love it.
The rogue in the party has to
Yeah. Yeah, you also meet a warrior here who you've basically throughout the entire pyramid, you see corpses of different adventurers who died trying to do this. And she's the last member of her party that's left alive. She's a really interesting character. But then you get to the gauntlet, which is the next floor up, which is where you fight Rafik. Now, his dungeon arena is really freaking cool, I will say, because like there's these different landings. Each landing has a different trap that activates. Like there's a corridor, and on the side of each of these landings are these rapids of water. And so one of the things that he'll do is he'll try to shove you into the water so that you get slammed against the wall and deal damage to you. He also has this metal hand that he can activate and move around to like grab you or throw you into the water. But Rafik himself is such a chump. So your players are supposed to be like level 8 or 9 by the time they finish this, which realistically, I think by the time they meet Rafik, they'll be level 9. He's a challenge rating 6. Which is like weird. But I guess the point is that if you kill him, he's not technically dead. He just will rejuvenate. You have to like find his heart and to destroy him completely. So that might be part of it. But yeah, you have to kill Rafik and destroy his heart before the room of questions is what it's called will allow you to the final part of the dungeon. Basically, you have to answer some questions. As long as you answer truthfully, it will open the way. If you try to lie or you answer the questions wrong, it shoots you with 10d8 lightning damage.
Jeez.
So don't do that. But essentially, you ride this waterfall up. It's weird to the final part where this is really cool. I really enjoyed this part. It's only 3 rooms, this final part. So the first room is just the entryway. The second room is a mural on the right side that shows kind of the history of Amon Sa, and then a wooden sort of royal boat on the left-hand side. There's nothing really in the boat, but if your players stick their hands through on the mural, it goes through. And then if they stick their head through the mural, they look outside and they just see empty horizon. And then they look down and they're like, oh, the pyramid's down there.
Oh.
Like it's a tiny speck just down there. And then 30 feet straight across from the portal is that same boat, but this time with treasures on it, suspended in the air. Nice. So basically your party has to figure out a way to get to the boat, either fly, teleport, use mage hand. But essentially one of the 2 artifacts that they need to solve the quest is on that boat. So they need to get it. It is also possible for your players, if they're careless, to just walk through the mural and fall 10,000 feet to the ground and take 77 D6 damage and end up at the start of the whole dungeon.
Wow.
So it's like, good job. Very mean, but also don't go walking through things like that. That's just asking for trouble.
10-foot poles are for, folks.
Exactly. And then the final room is just the sarcophagus with the Staff of Ruling, which is the second artifact you need to get. You take that, a portal opens up that sends you to the bottom. Amon Sa shows up and says, thank you for freeing me. The water comes back to the land, and Tears of Aethys, which is a faction of archaeologists, descendants of the Old Kingdom, who are kind of helping you throughout the pyramid solve this. They come and thank you, and they're like, we're going to make Bakar better again. We're going to make it great again. And that's the adventure. I think it was it has some wacky bits, like comic relief, like with the gnome with the spoon. But overall, it feels like a threatening adventure. It feels like a very cool, fun adventure. Very pulpy in a good way. So yeah,
seems pretty
solid adventure.
All right.
Oops.
Lost Caverns of Saj Khan. Honestly, there's not a ton to spoil. The hardest part of the adventure is like first finding the dungeon and then solving the final puzzle. Finding the dungeon is basically, it's a hex crawl kind of. There are some random encounters. Half of the random encounters can just tell you where the entrance is to the dungeon. So dead simple. So you go into the dungeon, you get in, no problem. It's your typical dungeon crawl. There's stuff hidden everywhere. Every room is very densely populated. So like there's some internal consistency questions of like, why isn't the creature right there just walking around the corner to eat the next thing? Don't question it. There's stuff everywhere. Make sure the players look under the water. There's stuff there too. First floor is fine. The final fight on the first floor is a chimera and a gorgon who've teamed up and become best buddies.
I want to watch that series.
There's the tiniest bit of plot there. Like the chimera will pretend to surrender if you almost kill it and then waits for you to let your guard down and then attacks you again because it's a jerk. Let's see, there's riddles throughout the adventure. Like there's one riddle telling you roughly where the entrance is. The second riddle is at the entrance from floor 1 to floor 2. There's a hollow boulder that if you break open, the riddle's on the inside of the boulder and it tells you how to solve the last puzzle basically. And it's like you have to open the door 7 times. Like that is the premise of the riddle.
Interesting.
The second floor of the dungeon, which is the final floor, there's all these weird things all over the place that are demon themed, and like the background for it is just Tasha was experimenting with demons in a lot of really crazy ways because this is where she wrote Igwilv's Demonomicon. So like she imprisoned Grast here for a while, and then he eventually got out, which is why she had to leave or may have been killed, unclear. So lots of demon things here. There's a lot of rooms that you go into and there might be a fight, or there might just be a terrain feature that it's just like, if you stay in this room, really weird shit happens to you. Excuse my language. Like one of the rooms, there's just 3 columns that Igwilv did demon things to, and it's like, if you stand in the room long enough, body horror happens. That's the entire room.
Nice.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And then like her inner sanctum, which is where the treasure is, very, very obvious because it's like the only thing that's made of metal in here. There's 6 doors. Every door you open teleports you to a specific spot in the dungeon. And it's just like, oh, great, I'm right around the corner. Just walk right back and open a different door. You open all 6 of the doors and then open one more door. Doesn't matter which one. And then you go in. Inside, you'll find all of the treasure and also Igwilv's daughter.
Cool. She's friendly?
Yeah. Initially, kind of. Okay, so Igwilv's daughter, she's a vampire. No one knows who her father is, including Igwilv. Yep.
Wow, Igwilv. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she abandoned this base, but left her most prized possession, her daughter, here to guard it in permanent stasis. She only wakes up when someone enters the room, and her job is to get you to leave. And she does this by using
Terrible mom.
Yeah, I know. She does this by getting her vampire powers. She charms you during the conversation and then just politely asks you to leave. And if you won't, tries to kill you.
Checks out.
If you kill her in turn, she has a really, really cool legendary sword called Heretic, which is an awesome name for an evil legendary sword.
That is a very cool name for a sword.
But most of the treasure here basically sucks. Like the big treasure in this dungeon is a lantern, which is for some reason called a lanthorn. Don't know why. It's a lantern. To attune to it, you have to forsake all worldly possessions, but also to fuel the thing, you have to put in powdered gemstones. So it's like, it's a very dumb item and I hate it. But it also, there's footnotes saying like, yeah, give them one of those legendary items that permanently increases their stats and also maybe the Demonomicon of Igwilv. So it's like, you could make it better. They could have just put those in there.
Yeah.
So it's a perfectly fine dungeon crawl. Depending on how you play it as a DM, the final boss fight could be really, really hard, or it could be really easy, or it could just not be a fight and the players could just be like, yeah, we're just going to politely leave now. That's fine. And that's all fine. That is Saj Column. All right. Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. This is the good one. This is great. There are robots. The AI that you meet is a rogue AI that caused the crash of the spaceship. It was the occupants of the spaceship were fleeing their doomed homeworld looking for a new homeworld. The AI was controlling the ship. This is very much like a WALL-E situation where everyone is living functionally in a maintained paradise. And the AI went rogue and decided, these people suck. If they get to another world, they're just going to doom that world too. So I'm going to biologically engineer a murderous fungus that will kill everybody on the ship. The people on the ship were like, we don't like that we're all suddenly dying, so we're going to quarantine parts of the ship. Like, I guess this is one module of the ship that you find massive. Quarantine the ship, and then the AI is like, fine, if you're going to do that, robots are going to murder everyone. So the few remaining survivors managed to shut down the ship systems, which caused it to crash, and then it's buried under the earth for thousands of years until you eventually find it. The AI sees an opportunity when you appear and are like, hey, I need you to deal with some problems on the ship to help me. I need to get you guys all the way down to the bottom of the ship through a series of challenges, because the AI wants you to get to the bottom of the ship where the stasis chambers are with the single remaining survivor of the crew. And the only reason it hasn't been able to get down there and murder them is because there's a Froghemoth Elder, which is like a CR16 Froghemoth, that has camped out basically on top of the staircase down to the bottom layer where the stasis chambers are. So you have to get all the way down there, and the AI will help you. And if you do things that the AI tells you, it helps. It'll open doors for you. It'll turn on lights for you. It'll bring you treasure. It'll send robots to assist you if you're stuck. All of these nice things. If you just kind of ignore it, it'll politely leave you alone. If you're a jerk to the AI, it'll turn off the lights. It'll seal doors. It'll have robots fight you. So you have to kind of make friends with this AI over time as it's slowly trying to get you to go down to the basement and murder someone.
I'm picturing a GLaDOS situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, GLaDOS, the AI from WALL-E, like the AI from 2001: A Space Odyssey, like it is all of those things. Yes. They
monster.
So they made a bunch of changes to the adventure that apparently improved on some like fatal flaws in the original adventure. There's a ton of just empty rooms in the adventure. Like there were way more in the original, and they were literally featureless boxes with doors. So you just open them and the DM's like, yeah, there's nothing here. Literally nothing. It is a featureless box. People hated that for good reason. And also the boss fight, which is supposedly like the boss fight that's in the thing, was way off in a corner somewhere. So you could go through the entire adventure and completely miss like the boss fight for the whole adventure just by accident. So like they moved some things around. The AI is apparently a new addition that apparently wasn't there in the original adventure. It was literally like, you find a spaceship, good luck. Yeah. So the AI feels like a big addition. It's fantastic. There's so much cool stuff in here. Like at one point you find a gym where there's androids for training people. Like there's a fencing instructor that you fight. There's a boxing instructor that you fight. And every time it punches you, a boxing ring bell on its chest chimes. There's an aerobics instructor that will fight you while shouting motivational phrases at you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, you really blocked
so
that one
much.
with your face.
Yeah. Yes. Like it literally, like, the first thing it says is time to work up a sweat, and then it starts throwing dumbbells at you.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
All right, girls, move those hips.
Yeah. Like it's wacky. Like there's an entire D100 table of trinkets, and it's like a combination of sci-fi stuff and like a box of popcorn, a shriveled package of hot dogs. Like there's laser guns and stuff in abundance. There's power armor and anti-gravity belts, and there's like anti-gravity elevators that you use to move through the ships. You have to collect key cards to move around through secure areas, and like you explicitly, rogues cannot pick the locks. So you have to find these key cards instead to like get through these puzzle doors. Like it's fantastic. It's so much fun. I want to run it so bad. Oh my God.
Sounds
Nice.
fun.
Yeah, the bit about the key cards reminded me, like we have a friend who constantly talks about the TTRPG paranoia. Yeah,
Yes.
It's cool. It's definitely cool.
Yeah. Okay. One criticism of the entire adventure: there's too many intellective hours. They're too deadly in D&D because intelligence is a dump stat for almost everybody. So many of the encounters have like 6 intellective hours in them, and it's just like, why? 2 is a problem at any CR. 6 is ridiculous. Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you get to the bottom, you rescue the one survivor, and she's just a human. She's just a human person. It's not a cool alien. It's like, wait, you were just a human? You've been here thousands of years, alien species from another planet, and you're just
We've got those out there. I didn't need to come here.
Yeah.
It's like the real treasure is this depleted energy cell. I don't know what it is. You could stay here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do our final yays and nays. I'll go first. I think some of these adventures are a lot of fun. I probably wouldn't run them back to back, like adventure after adventure, as the anthology gives it, kind of going back to what I said up front. I like the Infinite Staircase, and I like a lot of these adventures. I'm going to use them separately.
I think I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Unlike with something like the Radiant Citadel, where I could really buy into the framing device because the adventures are pretty short and they all feel very different from each other. These are all just massive dungeon crawls.
Yeah.
That's basically what they are. And I know that would work for some people, but I know for a lot of groups that I run, this would be exhausting doing this back to back. And also just like all of these feel like they could just be campaigns on their own, or just full, like you could, if you're looking for a good one shot to like bang out in a weekend, these would be really good to run, especially Tyler's one, Expedition to the Berry Peaks. That sounds like a fun one shot. I would be down for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I struggle to see this as being like a thing that I can just run out of the book. It's like something that if I'm going to run it, I need to make some adjustments, and it's going to be like either a one-off adventure or something that I use as a side diversion, not something that I pull everything into the same campaign. So I would give this whole book a B-.
Okay. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think I agree with you both. I would probably not run these back to back. I would happily run any of these adventures just standalone. Like, hey, we just want to do a short arc between things. We'll just roll up character for this. Like, don't worry about backstories. We're just going to rain to the adventure and just have a good time. Not taking this seriously. But like, if I was doing a homebrew campaign, I would absolutely bring in the Infinite Staircase just so people could hang out with Nefas. He seems cool. I like him.
He does seem cool.
Oh, one more spoiler. One more spoiler about Nefas. If you kill him, you are offered an impossible choice. You hear his last wish as you kill him. He wishes that you would take his place. If you accept, you become Nefas.
Like, as in it's Nefas and you're gone?
No, like you keep your personality, but you get all of his abilities, all of his possessions. You take his place. You get,
and you can't leave the Infinite Staircase.
Your name and
it's like it's you know what it is. It's like the Santa Claus situation with Tim Allen.
Yeah,
that's 100% what it is.
Yeah, that is exactly it. If you decline, though, he just reforms harmlessly in 1d10 days. He's like,
well done, you beat me. I'm so excited for you.
He does never let you.
That's fair. Honestly, that's a reasonable. We have to have boundaries. Okay.
Yeah. If you kill a guy, yeah.
Fool me once, can't get fooled again. Okay. All hail the Leisure Illuminati.
Hail.
Indeed. I'm Randall James. You'll find me at amateurjack.com and on Twitter and Instagram at jackamateur.
I'm Tyler Campstill. You'll find me on RPGBOT.net. Facebook and Twitter, RPGBOT.Net, most other socials as RPGBot.
I'm Ash Eli. You can follow me on Twitter at Graven Ashes. If you want me to run a game for you, maybe one of these games, I'd be down. Just find me on startplaying.games. Link in the description.
If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and rate us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. It's a quick, free way to support the podcast and helps us to reach new listeners. You'll find links in the show notes. You'll find affiliate links for source books and other materials linked in the show notes, as well as on RPGBOT.net. Following these links helps us to make this show happen every week. The RPGBOT.store continues to exist, and if you were to check it out, it would exist even harder. You can get shirts, you can get stickers, you can get all kinds of merch. If your question should be the question of the week next week, please email podcast@RPGBOT.net or message us on Twitter at RPGBOT.Net. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can find all kinds of great rewards. At any tier, you'll get early access to RPGBOT content and polls for future content. At our $3 tiers, you'll enjoy your choice of ad-free access to RPGBOT.net or ad-free podcast episodes and access to live-stream podcast recordings. At our $5 tiers and above, you'll get all of that, plus access to the RPGBOT.Discord. You'll find us at patreon.com/RPGBOT.
I do feel like we should can that. Like you just pre-record it and we just stick it at the end of every episode.
How do we do bits?
Well, we could still do the bits, like we're at the outro, and then when he does all the RPG monologue stuff, that could just be pre-recorded.
That's fair.
But I mean, if you enjoy doing it, Randall,
I go where Dan points me.